So, Leanne, what I'd really be interested in is, can you tell me, when you started out on your professional career, did you have a goal in mind?
No, I didn't. It was quite accidental almost that I did what I did in the first place, so I certainly wasn't looking long term, looking ahead.
So as your career developed then, did it develop because you were taking steps to progress, or did you find yourself progressing and then undertake CPD to actually enhance what you were doing?
I think that the way my career progressed was almost accidental, in that somebody retired quite early into my career, and so I took a head of department position probably sooner than anybody might have expected, but purely because they at least felt I was capable of giving it a go, but the opportunity arose. It wasn't something I'd applied for, and so it went on in a sense, and lots of times my career progressed because it needed to, because I could assume more responsibility when I was ready to, and so on.
So your first head of department role was a bit of a surprise, that it wasn't an aim to be head of department, it happened, and there were other surprises as well in your career?
I think that so much of my career in the sense was led a little bit by for example, government initiatives and changes in legislation, which meant that I had to learn how to take on the things that I needed to be able to implement. So sort of CPD in a sense was about enabling me to do a changing job and a changing role.
So that kind of links then with the idea of mentoring. Was there any mentoring for you at the beginning of your career or at any other time?
Certainly not. It was definitely not called that. We're talking a long time ago now, and so I wouldn't say at all that there was anybody who took on the role of mentor. In a sense, your head of department did, but then, as I said, I became a head of department so early. My line manager was probably a head teacher who certainly wasn't going to pick up and mentor me as such. So, in a sense, I think there were other people who took on the role informally, probably didn't even realise they were doing it, such as other people that I worked with, other agencies that I worked more closely with at times who helped me to develop.
Now that's a very interesting point, because one of the things we're exploring on the SHOOC programme is the business of becoming a mentor, becoming a senior mentor coordinator, and whether that happens because people have planned that into their careers, or, as you've just suggested, by accident, where people end up mentoring someone else because it's part of their job and they didn't even know they were being a mentor. So if you think back to one of those people who mentored you by mistake, or if you think back to what you would have asked for if you'd had a mentor, what could a mentor reasonably do to help you to develop your career? What advice would you have hoped to have from them?
I think to a certain extent you need somebody to validate what you're doing, and somebody who you can use as a sounding board, and somebody with whom you can just have a professional dialogue in a way, which doesn't necessarily happen in that sort of way just in the staff room informally, but somebody with whom you have a shared understanding of what you want to talk about and how you want that discussion to be, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah. I think the words that you used that I've picked up on there particularly are validating and sounding board. I think it's often underestimated how much people need to talk things through.
Definitely.
So if you actually think to any of the CPD or INSET that you've undertaken, was any of it particularly helpful to your career, or did it not seem to relate very much to your career?
Well, much of the CPD that I did, I either chose to do because it was an area of interest and helped me to develop my role in that particular direction. Certain sort of hobby horses I had in a way that I really felt were important, so I'd sort of take whatever training I could to help that develop. There were other things that I did, I guess because it was just given to everybody in the place, and it just kind of helped in a broader professional sense, it was helpful. I spent quite a lot of my time actually delivering CPD, so it wasn't always, when those days arose, I wasn't always on the receiving end, but actually delivering it myself. Yeah.